To all the viewers and people listening out there, Ramadan Kareem to all of those, Ramadan Kareem to you, Brother Ishmael. My fast was fine, Alhamdulillah, I didn't seem a problem. I've never found an easier fast in recent years, Alhamdulillah. So that's my take. How was your fast?
Alhamdulillah, you know what, I had a headache all day today, bro.
MashaAllah.
You know what, because the background working, helping out, playing, our little 2 pennies worth of trying to organize this radio station. Alhamdulillah, it's been a great lead up to the launch of the radio. Alhamdulillah, inshallah, we will have an exciting 30 days. But Muhbeen, I'm going to come directly to the topic because we've got so much to discuss, so little time. We've got a guest online as well who we're going to be inshallah, who's going to be joining us very shortly, and I'm going to ask yourself to welcome the guest. So this topic right now that is affecting all Muslims in UK, the issue that the horrendous attack on a concert in Manchester, killing so many innocent children, young brothers, mothers, men, women, children. This was something which was absolutely abhorrent. There are no words to describe it. But yet again, we've seen it again. Muslims are unfortunately in the limelight. We're in the media. Can you explain why is it that Islam is always, as soon as something like this happens, Islam is at the forefront of everybody's discussion points?
Well, before I get to that, Brother Ishmael, I just want to answer a quick question from Facebook Live. It is a live call-in show. The live call-in number will be on Facebook Live, and we will give it again. But we won't turn to the live call-ins until the second half, which will be after 12:30, where we will have a first guest first. But Brother Ishmael, I think what we have to realize is the Manchester attacks were one of the most horrific attacks that took place. I think we've got a bit of an echo coming out of there. And so, the Manchester attacks were one of the most horrific attacks that have taken place in recent times, because this was a more sophisticated attack. Recently, we've seen the attack in Woolwich, we've seen the attack in Westminster, which were lone wolf attacks, but they seemed very desperate. This was a bit more sophisticated. But what makes it even more horrific is not just that it was a nail bomb or some kind of explosion. This was an attack on children. An 8-year-old child, in any ideological understanding of Islam, is a masoom child, a child that had no reason to be killed, and nobody had a reason to be killed, and there was no justification. There is no ifs, there is no buts, there is no justification for that kind of murder, that kind of terrorism anywhere. But you're right, Brother Ismail, the issue of Islam, Muslims are all back in the limelight again. And I think one of the reasons that is because this individual proclaimed to be a Muslim. He was a Muslim. Salman Abedi, 22-year-old from Manchester, born in Manchester, supported Manchester United, went to the Disney Park Masjid. He was a visual and a claimant of the religion of Islam. And in fact, when you look at the links, and I'm sure the more information will come out over time, it will be linked to those attacks that have happened previously, and therefore Islam and Muslims are yet again in the media. I'm sure as we go on the show, speaking to our guests, we'll be able to understand what are the root causes, what are the actual causes to terrorism and extremism, and in fact we'll be talking live to the audience as well, and asking those on Facebook Live to leave a comment in the second half. But genuinely, I want to pay my respects. I spoke to people, leaders across the country, who were speaking on the media, and they were speaking confidently, speaking in a manner that really represented some Muslim communities, because you can't represent the Muslim community because we're not just one homogenous community. We are lots of different communities. But deep down, when I was speaking to them on the phone, they were breaking down because they could see their 8-year-old child, they could see their own daughter. And those of you listening at home, those of you listening in South Yorkshire on Iman Radio, those on Facebook Live, on Ramadan FM, think about your daughter. Look at home at your cousins and your little daughters and sons, and imagine if their lives were taken away. Imagine if their future was taken away by this individual. How would you feel, and would you not break down? And that's what I want to do. And whilst I'm doing that, let me also pay my respects to the two individuals that are being murdered today by an individual in Portland in America, whilst he was defending one Muslim woman and one black American woman as well. So two women were being attacked by Islamophobic rhetoric, and these two heroes defended them, and whilst defending them, they have been murdered. So we have to realize there's many types of extremism, and we have to pay our respects for all those victims of extremism.
I mean, that was a very good intro. I mean, Muhbeen, but you know, often this is a issue. The issue of debate is that the root cause of these kind of acts, when it's a Muslim that goes out and blows himself up and, you know, does something stupid like that, you know, straight away you get some Muslims that come out and they condemn wholeheartedly, they condemn it, you know, on every platform that is available to them. And you have other Muslims that don't condemn it, and they say, well, we don't need to condemn it. Why do we need to condemn it? You know, are all Libyans condemning it? For example, this guy was Libyan. Are all Libyans coming out and say, well, you know, we shouldn't condemn it? Are all people that are named Suleiman, are they coming out condemning it? Say, well, you know what? Not all Suleimans are like that. This was the only Suleiman. You know, are they condemning it? Why is it that, you know, where's the balance here? Should we be condemning these kind of acts in the manner that you see Muslim organizations condemning it in, or should we not be condemning it? Should we basically be sitting there and waiting for, you know, why is it that this question is even asked of us, that do you condemn this act? Obviously we condemn this act. I'm going to condemn this act. But why should I need to condemn this act? I've got an 8-year-old daughter. I was talking to my 8-year-old daughter and I said, you know, this is what's just happened. And literally it was very emotional. But should I have to go on mainstream media? Should I need to come out and say, you know, not in the name of Islam. No, we don't do this. This is not part of Islam. Islam means peace. Why do we have to always do this, Muhbeen?
I think,
Muhbeen, just before you answer that question, I was just going to say that our guest has joined us, so I want you to welcome the guest, and then we'll bring him into this conversation as well, and inshallah then we can have a three-way conversation. So go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. I think I'm joined now by Jahan Mahmood, who's a former government advisor on extremism and terrorism. If I'm correct, Jahan, are you there? Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, Jahan. I think at the moment we're having a technical fault, so until we can get Jahan back on.
Assalamu alaikum, Jahan. Can you hear us?
I can, yeah.
Right, okay, sorry. Okay. Jahan, so I'm sure you've been listening to the conversation up until now. You heard the Muhbeen's introduction. You heard the question I posed. I'm going to let Muhbeen come in, and then obviously we'll come to yourself as well.
Sure, okay.
Assalamu alaikum, Jahan. How are you doing?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Ramadan Mubarak to yourself, first of all.
Ramadan Mubarak to you and all the listeners.
Jazakallah. Okay, Jahan, we witnessed the Manchester attack this week. It was horrific. It was disgusting. You've been on the media throughout this week. You've been on BBC, World Service News, Sky News, and talking about this from many different angles. Let me ask you directly, what did you think, you know, not just as Jahan Mahmood, you can give us that conversation, but what did you think as, you know, somebody that works on counter-extremism when you heard about this attack in Manchester?
Well, the first thing you think about is, why did he do it? What motivated him? And the second thing you think about is the casualty list, the number of people who've died and have been affected. And then you wonder what you could have done to stop it. And then you start looking for, I suppose, commonalities with previous perpetrators. And that's probably all part of the journey in trying to ensure that when you do get called out in the media or called out to speak, is that you can give the public a sensible explanation, perhaps.
Yeah, Jahan,
and explain part of where this has gone wrong.
Jahan, this was another British-born individual, somebody that was born in Manchester, supported Manchester United. And why would somebody that's British born, young as well, a 22-year-old, yet another young person, we had Talha Asmal, 17-year-old, the youngest suicide bomber from Britain not long ago, turned to this type of radicalization. We've had the young girls from Tower Hamlets. We found one of the 7/7 bombers was quite young. And we continue to see young people, British born, committing these acts. Why is that, Jahan?
You just said, did you say Talha Asmal?
Asmal. From Dewsbury.
I've really heard of that name.
Talha Asmal from
Right,
Dewsbury.
yeah. I'm afraid that's one person I don't know about. But you're asking why British-born people would take such drastic action. That's the correct. That's the question, isn't it?
Yes, there is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's a number of reasons, and one of the things that doesn't get mentioned enough is mental health. We talk about ideology and foreign policy, but we don't talk about why some of these people are vulnerable. And whilst we focus on they were born in England, we also have to understand they feel very disconnected from England or from the UK. And, you know, there are a number of responsibilities that we have upon us. And I don't mean the average Muslim member. I'm talking about people who are more influential. But the media, the government. So whilst we isolate and talk about why did this happen, this person was born here, we also have to ask the question, is that person fitting in? Why are they feeling disconnected from mainstream society? And then what influences them to take such drastic action, which in itself is un-Islamic, to kill yourself or to kill innocent people. But we also have to remember that over the course of 4 or 5 years, or probably even longer since the civil crisis started in Syria, and indeed in other countries, not everyone who has gone over to fight has gone to fight with ISIS or to kill innocent people. There are many humanitarian fighters as well. And this is not me saying that. This has been confirmed by experts who are on the ground and have interviewed people and asked them why they've left.
But Jahan, look, you mentioned mental health, and that has been a clear factor that has came out of many studies and reports. We have young people who have violent criminal backgrounds, mental health issues. In fact, whenever there is a violent extremist that isn't a Muslim, mental health seems to always prop up there. But come on, there has to be ideology that is part of this. You know, there is a perversion of Islam that they are professing. When we talk about Adab al-Ajo, there was a letter that came out of his pocket where he justified his actions through the use of Islam and religious texts. So how do you combat that type of, you know, extremism? Because it's not good enough saying that Islam has nothing to do with it, because these people are professing a type of perversion of Islam, whether it's a hijacked version or whatever. They are still claiming to be taking scriptures, taking literature from Islam.
Yeah, but the thing is it them themselves who are doing this, or are they being influenced? And why is it that the most vulnerable members of society are the ones who are pulled in? And why is it that MI5 in their behavioral unit report concluded that those who are best protected against the lure of extremism are those who understand their religion, because they can understand it in context and challenge the recruiter or the extremist's interpretation. So I personally would say that yes, it is hijacked by certain people, but it's not the most vulnerable. These people are just brainwashed and indoctrinated because they don't know any better. What is the solution? The solution really is that the scholars, the clerics who have a profound knowledge of religious texts help to try and generate some kind of source of information or material online and in, in hardback, so in text copy, that can be read widely, distributed, published, aired, covered in the media, to set the record straight so that most people, because not everyone's going to be protected, but most people are protected. That is the solution, as well as in combination with our government making sure that they don't go out into any more foreign lands and cause some of the mayhem that we've seen over the last 10 years or so.
I mean, Jahan, this is Ish here. You mentioned that issues relating to mental health, and you also mentioned that Muslim scholars need to do a lot of work in terms of trying to bring up about the right message of Islam. But the issue here is that how are these people actually being radicalized? Studies show, and there's been a lot of mention in this, that most of the radicalization actually happens online. Now, online, surely the government have a lot of control on what goes on onto the internet. What is the government actually doing? I mean, you've been quite heavily involved with advising the government on counter-extremism. Surely they can control. I mean, the prevent strategy, for example, a lot of it seems as if though, and Muslims feel as if though this is infringing on our and on our privacy, and yet most of the radicalization actually doesn't happen in the mosques. It happens online. Why is the government, and what is the government, what is the government doing to ensure, and we know Theresa May has just come in and said, they're going to crack down on radicalization that happens online by monitoring Google and YouTube, etc. But why now? Why has this not happened, 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was one of the first people in around 2010 who actually said that the internet radicalization is a serious concern, and this is going to grow and mushroom into like a disaster zone. That's exactly what happened, because they were too interested at that time in mosques. They went for completely the wrong facility. The government was just so blinkered and stupid, because they thought, well, most Muslims congregate in the mosque, and Islam has something to do with it. Therefore, the mosque, which is ultimately an epicenter, or, like a venue where Islam is really disseminated, this is where it must be beginning from. And they were so idiotic and stupid in their approach, because mosques are just places of worship. They just didn't do their homework.
Yeah. And well, yeah. No, I take your point. Sorry, I take your point. Sorry to cut. Yeah.
Point. Yeah, right. I'm just coming to your point. Is that recruiters will prefer to recruit online because they can hide behind the screen, right? Now, you're right. They're now telling these tech companies to deal with it. I mean, it's too late. Two, when information is uploaded, it's too difficult to start bringing everything down. The third thing is YouTube and Google, among other tech companies. It's very difficult for them to have the right people in to bring everything down. So what now constitutes a threat? At what point do you bring this video down? It's not that easy. It's remarkably difficult.
I mean, Jahan, exactly. I mean, is it idiotic? Was it really stupidity? Was it really naivety? I mean, we're talking about the British government. We're talking about, one of the most advanced countries in the world. This just allows those people that tend to shout out conspiracy theories. It's just playing right into their hands, isn't it? Because we're just saying, oh no, the government was too naive. The government, they didn't really clock on. They didn't really know what was going on the internet. But surely, with the most advanced intelligence service in the world, they didn't realize that the radicalization is happening online, and they just realized after the Manchester attack, and only now the government, Theresa May, has come out and said, well, Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Google, they need to do more. It seems really skeptical.
I mean, to be fair, you have a point. I mean, it's like beggar's belief. Like, you couldn't predict that it was going to get out of control. And a guy like Jahan, Mahmood, and several other people, so it wasn't me alone, we worked it out in 2010, and they never. And I get your point. I think it's a very, very valid point. And some people have said to me, do you think it was a tool for entrapment? So, for instance, we leave out the crazy stuff on the internet, all the violent videos, the terrorist manuals, so that the security services can monitor who's looking at them, and then begin to start painting a more, comprehensive profile or picture of those who are interested in that kind of material. I mean, to completely outrightly deny that entrapment happens would be us overlooking the facts. There have been many cases where entrapment actually has happened. There's been a number of American counter-terrorism officers who have admitted to that kind of behaviour. So I am not excusing that, by the way. All I'm saying is that your point is very good, but I myself am baffled of why the government didn't do more and is now promising people at this late stage that they're going to get it right. I mean, I can tell you they got it wrong for so long. I don't believe they're going to get it right now. I don't believe that.
And this individual, Salman Abedi, he was on their watch list, and yet again, I mean, surely that's another failure on the government. So, I mean, Muslim organizations, because I want to come back to that original point just before I took you online, when I asked Muhbeen about Muslims you see them pouring out onto the streets, coming out onto the media, say we condemn this, Islam is peace, Islam is a religion of peace and tolerance, etc., etc. Why are Muslims behaving in that way when instead of that we should be saying, well, hold on a second, this is the government's failure. Number one, the government's failure to stop the radicalization happening where it is happening online, and number two, this guy was on their watch list. How did they let this happen? How was this allowed to happen? I mean, what would your response, Jahan, be to specifically to those Muslims that have this stance?
I mean, to be fair, I personally just don't know what to say anymore, because that is such a good question.
Wow.
Why is it that Adam Alaja was on the watch list? Why is it that Muslims reported him? Why is it that Muslims reported Anjem Chowdhury? Why is it that the media gave him so much time to recruit other, vulnerable individuals? Why is it that these people get airtime and that becomes the biggest recruiting, position for them, better than a salt pot on a street corner? Why is it that Khalid Masood was known to the authorities? Why is it that the friends of Salman Abedi reported him to the anti-terror hotline and rang them up? And yet these guys go on to commit these acts of terror, okay?
Well, Jahan, I'm going to have to cut you there because we're going to need to go on a break. That's a very, very powerful statement. I mean, coming from yourself, somebody who's been an advisor to the government. We're going to go on this short break, inshallah, and straight after that, inshallah, we will be joining you, inshallah, straight after this short break. Please, dear viewers, dear listeners, stay tuned. A very interesting topic that we're discussing here, and if you want to have your say, you can call in. The number to call is 0333 006 5005. If you can't get through, you can Facebook us, you can leave a comment, and inshallah we will try to reply on to your comments. Just stay tuned. Thank you.
This is your local community station, Iman FM on 103.1 FM.
The world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth.
What were we and what have we become?
How are Muslims behaving?
What happened to education?
How do we integrate? All these and many more. Real problems, real situations. Join Amar and Iqbal for Real Talk every Friday 10 p.m. on Iman 103.1 FM.
Khan Solicitors, experienced criminal defence lawyers in defending your rights. We can assist you get the best possible outcome if you're involved in any criminal matters, including murder, drug offences, sexual offences including grooming, terrorism, fraud and money laundering. We can provide free advice and assistance 24/7 at the police station. Call us on 0114 258 3399 at 351 Abbeydale Road, Sheffield. Visit us at khansolicitors.com. Over 20 years experience in defending your rights.
अरे शमसुद्दीन भाई यहाँ कहाँ घूम रहे हैं?
भैया रोडरम में कोई खाने का अच्छा जगह है?
रोडरम में उम्दा और लजीज खानों का वाहिद मरकज चौधरीज ओरिएंट एक्सप्रेस।
अरे भैया तो टाइम जाया ना करो, जल्दी करो, भूख लग रहा है।
देर न लाओ, आज ही आओ ते फायदा उठाओ।
Cater to impress, Chaudhry's Orient Express, Princess Street, Rotherham, telephone 01709 555527।
हर कोई सज्जन मित्र बोले चौधरीज ओरिएंट दे पैगे रोले, कुकड़ पाए ते गोश्त कढ़ाई, आके खाओ होले होले।
At Rahman Superstore, we want you to enjoy your shopping experience and save money.
Ramzan al Mubarak की बरकतों के साथ
उम्दा बेसन रूह अफ़ज़ा 20 अक़साम की खजूरें और लाजवाब मीट और चिकन मुनासिब रेट पर दस्तयाब हैं ताज़ा सब्जियां फ्रूट और हर किस्म के मसालाजात और ग्रोसरी के लिए तशरीफ लाइए आपके अपने रहमान सुपर स्टोर पर
Come and fill your trolleys with special offers at Rahman Superstore 121 Musborough Street Rotherham.
At iLet4U, we know that being a landlord can be a frustrating business, but it doesn't have to be. iLet4U can find you tenants in under a week. iLet4U, specialist in selective licensed properties.
अगर आप मकान किराए पे लगाना चाहते हैं तो हमारी खिदमत हासिल करें और घर बैठे किराया पाएं। iLet4U पर हम आपके घर को अपना घर समझकर रेंट पे देते हैं।
Start finding tenants today by contacting iLet4U, 60 Page Hall Road, Sheffield, 0114 327 2020.
मुअज़्ज़म अली शहीद वेलफेयर ट्रस्ट के ज़ेरे एहतमाम जेएलएम में कायम अस्पताल में पिछले 18 सालों से इलाज मुआलजा मुस्तहिक अफराद को फी सबिलिल्लाह फराहम कर रहा है गरीब खानदानों और यतीम बच्चों के लिए माली इमदाद दी जाती है
With your help we can save lives, educate and help reduce poverty.
आप अपनी ज़कात सदका व खैरात ट्रस्ट को देकर इस कार खैर में अपना हिस्सा डालें
For more info call on 0779 251 5561 or visit muslimtrust.org.uk.
إعلان عاجل لسائقي سيارات الأجرة وسيارات الأجرة الخاصة وسيارات هاكني كيريج مستر كومبنسيتر يدفع 2000 جنيه كتعويض لطالبي التعويض لسيارات الأجرة سيارات البرستيج وسيارات الدفع الرباعي بسبب الحوادث التعويض مضمون بنسبة 100% خدمتنا متوفرة طيلة 24 ساعة على 7 أيام اتصل بنا الآن على الهاتف رقم 0114-386-3386 التعويضات تنطبق على سيارات الأجرة فقط كل ذلك وفقا للشروط والأحكام.
Your voice, your choice. You're listening to Iman FM.
के तमन्ना मेरी लब पे आती है दुआ बन के
I'm joined with my co-host Muhbeen. Muhbeen, just before the break we had Jahan on the line who was a advisor to the British government on counter-extremism policies. Before we went on break we asked him about how the government have failed to stop the radicalization taking place on the internet, on social media, and the prevent strategy has totally failed in terms of it's just focused on Muslim communities, on the mosques, and they've tried to deal with the radicalization when studies have shown us again and again that the vast majority of the radicalization happens online, and online is a lot easier to control than to control in the masajid, in the mosques and in the institutes. So the government have failed there, and again the government have not picked up on this guy Salman Abedi, the guy who committed this horrific attack in Manchester. And I asked you, Muhbeen, why is it that Muslims have come out, in their thousands and saying, not in our name, we condemn it, Islam is a religion of peace, Islam is not a religion of terrorism, blah, blah, blah.
You're throwing three questions at me at once.
No, I'm actually throwing one question at you. The question is, that was just a pretext to the question.
Okay, so the government failed.
The question is, the government has failed, and despite the government's failure, the Muslim community is not turning on the government and saying, you failed, this is your failure, you failed to pick this up, you failed not only the British, the non-Muslim British community, but also now we are a target by the far-right extremists as Muslims. Yeah, so you've also failed us. Why are Muslims not coming out and condemning them and saying that they are in the wrong?
I think, firstly, let me ask, Babaji Khadija Atkinson said about Jahan Mahmood, what is his point? Fault of the media. I don't think Jahan was saying that it's the complete fault of the media. What Jahan was basically saying is that the media have allowed people like Anjum Chowdhury to continuously come on and spur their hatred willy-nilly as representatives of the Muslim community, and that in turn has been a tool for radicalization. So I think that what he's saying is the media have actively contributed by allowing people like Anjum Chowdhury to come on. But also, Ish, look, I'm not somebody I'm somebody that is critical of the government's preventive strategy, but I'm not going to sit here and say, well, the government's got the complete failure. I think when 22 children have died in Manchester, we've got dozens and injured there. We can't just turn around and blame one another. I think what we have to realize is, yes, the government have failed in certain aspects, and I'll come to that, but I think as a society, as a community, we all have to come together and realize what we all can do, because we all can't accept 22 lives to have gone in such a manner. And when this actions happen, I think there are some people that will turn around and say, well, the Muslim community is not doing enough, even though the Muslim community could be working hard. And then on the other hand, saying the government's not doing enough. I think there is real issues, but by saying that these people are on the government's watch list and somehow not being channeled, the government probably would not pick up everybody on their watch list. And the problem is, until we look at this problem as the government's going to pick up people on its watch list, until we continue to see this issue from a security mindset, we will never defeat this issue. If you want to defeat the radicalization of Daesh or ISIS and this type of radicalization, we've got to defeat it with literature, with ideology, with us coming together and standing together. But hold on, Ish, I'm just going to give you one example of this. Looking at this, in fact, Nicholas Henning, who was a hostage from ISIS in 2015, Daesh, he was a hostage. He came back from there and he said that one of the things that Daesh looks for is they want to show the us and versus them phenomena. They want to show that British Muslims and Muslims as a whole are being attacked by non-Muslims. So when the Paris attacks happened, they went openly on social media and they utilized the division on there. A professor from Maryland University that looks into radicalization also at the time of the Paris attack spoke, and he said that looking into radicalization, he's found that Daesh look into divisions and they use Islamophobia, and in fact they want an atmosphere where Islamophobia is prevalent, and because when it's prevalent they can use them attacks on Muslims to say, well, they're against you and they're against Islam. And in fact the same Nicholas Henning we're talking about, he says the biggest thing that people like Daesh fear is us uniting together. And that is what we need to do. We've got issues. We can't deal with this from a security mindset. We've got to deal with this from a literature point of mindset, as well as security, but also us coming together as we did in Manchester.
Well, tackling it is there are many levels that this needs to be tackled from there. I'm asking a very specific. I'm going to come back to my question, and the question I'm going to ask you, Muhbeen, is that yes, you're saying that on just on the basis of humanity we need to condemn this act, but why is it that Muslims are coming out in the manner that they are condemning it? Libyans are not coming out condemning it in the way they condemning it in the same way. People named Suleiman are not coming out, but Muslims are. So basically we're conflating this act with Islam's, and then we are ourselves responsible. Are we not playing into their hands and saying, we're not, we're not to blame. We're all good people. Why do we need to justify that? Obviously, I've got an 8-year-old daughter. I'm going to feel when I see an 8-year-old girl dying, naturally it's going to remind me of my own child. And, basically, is our action... The action of the Muslim community, is this working in the favor of the Muslim community, or is this actually, are we just shooting ourselves in the foot here?
Well, let me give a quick shout out first. Ramadan FM 2017, tune in to us. The studio hotline number is 0333 006 005. You can see it on Facebook Live on Ramadan FM. It also, the many people listening on Iman Radio in South Yorkshire, those listening, assalamu alaikum to those there. So please call in and join the conversation. But Ish, I'm going to answer your question directly. What you're saying is, why are Muslims coming out? Why are Muslims saying they condemn it? And somehow, I think the assertion that comes is, when Muslims come out and condemn it, they're somehow apologizing for this. I want to ask a question. When the Australian Prime Minister comes out and condemns the attack in Manchester, he's not saying he's liable or somehow he's apologizing for the act or all Australian people are sorry for the act. He's condemning it. In fact, we had leaders from across the world come out and condemn it. The US Embassy condemned the attack just months ago in Lahore. They weren't saying that they were liable or apologizing for it. A condemnation is people standing against that. When we had Muslim organizations throughout the country saying, we stand against this, they weren't just saying they stand against this, they were paying their respect for those children dying. So people, when organizations like Cage, like MEND, like British Muslim Youth, like Minhaj al-Quran, like the 37 signatures and many more from the Ramadan Film Foundation to the Muslim Council of Britain and many, many more were coming out, what they were saying is, as human beings, we're appalled and we want to show our respect. And in fact, if these people want to taint our religion, then our voice from our religion will be louder than theirs, because they're trying to say we represent Islam, and what we must say is that we represent Islam. There's people suggesting that, for example, Muslims shouldn't come out. I think it was a wonderful atmosphere when we had Muslims from mosques all across Manchester come out there and speak out. And again, like I said, researchers are telling us, ever since from 1991, this theory came out, the theory suggesting that Islam was to the West, going back from people like Samuel Huntington. This idea has been perpetuated and it plays into the hands of Daesh. Daesh want, in fact, if we stayed at home and Daesh want that. Daesh want us to stand away and not come out. But when we come out and the people of Manchester came out, Daesh hated that. They hate our values. They hate our unity. They hate the fact that Muslims can get along with non-Muslims and they're fully cohesive. And
that point was actually very eloquently made, Muhbeen, and that is the answer which I was alluding to, and I was hoping that you would say, and that was said very beautifully by yourself. So the condemnation that is coming out from the Muslim communities, this is a natural reaction. It's a reaction to shout out, not to show the non-Muslims that Islam is a religion of peace, but it's to actually show the people who perpetuate these kind of activities that no, the Islam that you believe in is some twisted Islam. It's not our Islam. It's not mainstream Islam. It's not the Islam that has been passed down to us through generations of authentic scholarship, but this is Islam which has been concocted by your own evil desires and your own mindset.
Just coming to that issue, I think there's some people that say, well, Muslims don't have to come out because it's obvious that everybody genuinely knows Muslims are against murder and killing people, and those that don't are extremist bigots. Just look at, and this is why I want people, all those people that are analysts can look out there, just look at Jeremy Corbyn's speech on foreign policy. Jeremy Corbyn was pushed to a defensive nature when he was talking about foreign policy. He made it clear, and he had to make it clear, that he is not excusing, he's not making any justification for murder. And even those people, even if you look at people like Owen Jones that came on Sky News yesterday, he had to make it crystal clear that this, when you're talking about foreign policy, he wasn't justifying it. Well, people like Jeremy Corbyn have to come out and make people understand that what they're saying doesn't justify actions. What do you think the atmosphere for British Muslims is? Wake up out there. Have you seen the comments on Facebook and social media? Have you seen the rise in Islamophobia? In fact, let's take their ideas. That Muslims didn't condemn 9/11. They stayed quiet on 7/7. They stayed quiet all their lives. And in fact, ordinary people would somehow know Muslims are against it. In fact, take Islamic scholarship. When people take, I'm not a scholar, I'm not professing to be a scholar, but many a times when people say this action is allowed, they say why? Because the Prophet ﷺ stays silent on it. Silence is condoning in many ways. And when this is an attack that is against Islam, it is against the very fabric and the teachings and the essence of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then why not come out?
And done in the name of Islam.
And actually done in the name of Islam in a perpetuated way. So I think, I want to send my messages of thanks to the people in Manchester, people like Mohammed Shafiq who did the unity vigil, I think it was on Thursday. I think, Andy Burnham, the Manchester mayor, has been phenomenal phenomenal in standing and uniting communities. And in fact, let me tell you something. You know what I find brave? There's times when we're getting attacked by people like Katie Hopkins and people like Piers Morgan throwing their 2 pence worth of it. But you know what really motivated me? When I saw ordinary British people saying, you know what, don't blame Muslims. Let's us stand, because that made us stand
you
together.
had that sister from Manchester who you know it went wild on social media. She was from Minhaj al-Quran, the sister in the Union Jack hijab. You know, she made some beautiful comments about how you know what the real essence of Islam is, and this is actually an excellent opportunity for Muslims to, you know, portray the real message of Islam, because Islam has been brought into the media by these evil minded individuals, twisted individuals, often you know, mentally disturbed individuals, as Jahan was saying earlier. And they're coming onto mainstream media. You know, their acts are bringing the Muslim community onto mainstream media, and this is a chance for us to actually give our message, the real message of Islam. So that is that becomes a very valid reasons to condemn. But coming to the solution to this, like we said, I mean, because we've only got a very small amount of time left, we've got a call coming. I'm going to take this call. So let's take the caller and see. Assalamu alaikum, caller. Assalamu alaikum, caller. Can you hear us?
Hello, assalamu alaikum. We can hear something. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear us? Assalamu alaikum.
Looks like the call's been dropped. Okay.
But just to remind people, you can call. The number to call is 0333 006.
We've got this call coming back here. Let's take this call. Assalamu alaikum, caller. You are live on Ramadan FM 2017.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers Muhbeen and brother Ismail. How are you guys?
Alhamdulillah. What's your name and where are you calling from?
It's Umar speaking from London.
MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, Umar. What would you like to say? I take it you've been listening to our conversation. What would you like to contribute towards the conversation?
Well, basically, you guys have been talking about foreign policy. And then on top of that, with what happened with Jeremy Corbyn in the last 2 days, with the unfortunate attacks in Manchester, and in the comment about foreign policy, I actually wholeheartedly agree with what Jeremy Corbyn is saying, and I think most Muslims agree with that.
Another shout out for Jeremy out there, the old Jeremy.
Another shout out for Jeremy out there. But there's actually logic behind it. And the thing is, if he was making a political point and he gets attacked, you can understand. But he's making a factual point, and he's getting attacked like it's nonsense, and it's really, really annoying. And the way the media have gone after him, and even Theresa May's gone after him, I think it's really unfortunate. If you just give me a minute to expand on that, I actually made a Facebook comment this morning, and that was basically my sentiment. So it works in this radio show today, because that's exactly how I was feeling this morning. And I said that the countries that you're fighting ISIS, and ISIS were those freedom fighters that the British government and the American government funded only back 4, 5, 6 years ago, that were the supposed freedom fighters fighting Assad, that have now become these ISIS fighters. The same countries that are affected are where ISIS is brewing and it's at its peak and it's flourishing are 3 major countries: Iraq, Syria and Libya. And the UK has directly been involved in wars or intervention in those 3 countries in the last 5 to 7 years. So when people come out and be so dismissive with the fact that foreign policy is it's nonsensical, it's ridiculous, it doesn't come into the narrative, that really grates my...
Yeah, but I don't think.
If you just let me finish. However minute it is, even if it contributes to 1%, 2%, 5%, 25%, it's there, and it has to be acknowledged.
Has to be acknowledged.
Nature It has to be acknowledged, and the way it doesn't get acknowledged really, really does get me angry, and that was my basic point.
Yeah, but Brother Umar, let me just come to you. Look, I think I put an article yesterday in the Independent comment piece, and I said young people should be able to have a voice and express his opinion about foreign policy. If that's what they want to talk about, that debate should happen and not be closed down. But Brother Umar, let's be honest, you have mentioned that you're annoyed, you're angry at the situation in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, but you're not going and picking arms up. So,
well, we hope not. Anyway.
Well, we hope not, and I know Brother Umar isn't. I think he's been a campaigner against extremism for a very long time. So look, I want to say something. Look, I agree with you, but why is it that these people take that grievance? Because we have that grievance. Many people have that grievance. In fact, people had grievance about Iraq. 1 million people came out on the streets. They had the grievance, but they didn't go blow themselves up. So in fact, it's not really foreign policy, is it? Isn't it just ideology? Just being used foreign policy being used as an excuse?
I think, look, firstly, I'd like to refer back to your article. I did read that article, and I actually wholeheartedly agree with that article. Whereby you say that you're labeling a community or a set of Muslims, and you're not even asking within them that what they actually think or how they feel. We're not really represented even in the mainstream media with our thought process. But then again, I agree with what Ismail was referring to previously, that why do we have to be apologists at every single stage? And the way I see it, in Britain, I can't really...
What do you mean by apologists? Can you elaborate on that, Brother Umar?
In terms of that, maybe that's a strong word, but apologies. Every time a terrorist attack happens, me as a Muslim, I don't need to come out and... Why do I need to condemn...
But who asked you to come out, Brother Umar? Who asked you?
No, that is the narrative that is given from the media. That's the way I feel. And
I agree with that, fair enough.
There's a narrative given out of the media, he has to condemn. If he does not condemn, then he's probably part of the problem, which I don't think is true. But getting back to the problem, the reason that we are struggling in the UK is most probably down to that it's a broken society. People are not happy. People are not happy with work. Everything is just... I don't think people are just generally happy with life. And they probably see a ray of hope and a ray of sunshine in the direction of Jeremy Corbyn. So that could be the potential way that we go forward, but I do like Jeremy Corbyn's approach.
Well, thanks for that, Brother Umar. Thank you for coming on the show. I think we're going to cut you off there.
We're going to cut you off there, Umar.
Jazakallah, thank you for that, brother. I think, can I just make a very quick point?
I just want to say, just before that, Jeremy Corbyn got a lot of
endorsements there.
A lot of endorsements, and I hope he's listening to our show right now, because
I think how Theresa May was strong and stable. Umar had Jeremy Corbyn,
exactly. I just want to comment on that particular point that Umar mentioned about Jeremy Corbyn's speech. I heard that speech, and you know what? I think that he's got the balance right, and that's what it's all about. I don't think it's about people saying that. I don't think anybody here says that foreign policy's got nothing to do with it. I don't think that anybody here says, ideology's got nothing to do with it. Yeah,
but people do say either side. There are people.
No. You know what? To be honest with you, if you speak to them and you actually have a conversation with them, it's different what they say in the media. But if you speak to them, sit down with them, I don't think there's anybody that is going to sit here and actually say, you know what, our wars in Iraq and in the Middle East have got nothing to do with acts of terror that happen in the UK. And I don't think that anybody Muslim that opposes these and condemns these kind of acts is going to say, well, ideology has got absolutely no part to play in these atrocious acts. But the problem, the issue here is finding the balance. That is what we're talking about, is where's the balance? This is what the whole debate is. And I personally, my opinion is that when it comes to condemnation, I think that, you know what, if Muslim organizations are going to come out and say, well, don't condemn, you shouldn't condemn, I think that that's a wrong approach, because we should let nature take its course. If I feel that I need to come out and I need to condemn, then I should condemn. And there are Muslims out there, and you need voices out there. We as Muslims, we need voices out there that will come out and say that actually we don't need to condemn, and we're not going to condemn. And I respect that opinion also, because that is a very valid point. Because yes, like Umar was saying, why should we need to condemn? And that is, I think that is the balance.
If I can just come in there,
yeah, sure,
I want to have this point.
Go ahead.
I want to have this point on record because I seen an article yesterday in the Sun, and I want to make my point very clear on this. Look, I'm somebody that's always said, look, I think it's a very good thing. I think it's something in light of the Sunnah. I think it's something in light of the actions of people like Imam Zain al-Abidin, the great grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu. I've mentioned these things on many occasions. I think it's the greater act. And I've been somebody that says, look, we should come out and condemn it. But you know what? Yesterday, there was an article in The Sun, and I was part of the condemnation letter signed by 37 of the people, sending our prayers and sending our thoughts to the people that died and were victims of the Manchester attack, and we openly, wholeheartedly condemned it.
Yeah.
But The Sun came after two groups, 5 Pillars and Impact, for not condemning it. Now, I strongly oppose that because, like I said, though I come out and condemn it, nobody should have to feel as though they have to
condemn it, exactly.
Because they shouldn't. That's another thing I'm against. The media should never make the Muslim community feel like they have to, because they don't have to, and nor should we have to ever apologize it. At the same time, I think it's a great thing to do. I think it's one of the things that is a strategy to defeat this both Islamophobic extremism and this other type of extremism by coming out.
Yeah.
But I don't stand that. And as somebody that is a signatory of that letter for 37 people, I am disgusted whether it was leaked, whether it was in whichever manner. I'm disgusted that the Sun came after these two organizations. And I've spoke to 5 Pillars today about the issue and asked them to come onto the show. They are seeking legal advice because they are saying that they haven't even been approached for this letter. And to the best of my knowledge, I know I don't think they have been asked or whatever. It was something done very quick, with very few people.
Yep.
So I just want to make myself unclear on record. I stand against that.
Yeah. No. And on that note, the people that actually went after these two organizations, I mean, I differ with a lot of the stance that these organizations have. There's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to forcing the Muslim community by using pressure tactics,
disgusting.
I think that is abhorrent,
and it has to be called out as well.
It must be called out.
In that sense, I think. Look, I don't agree. Look, the thing is that a lot of organisations did come out, and it's not about putting a condemnation. It's about sending your respects, and I'm big on this because let's be honest, it's a natural thing as humans to do. When somebody's family member passes away, well, obviously everybody knows that we feel sorry for them. But why do we go and see him? Why? Yeah. We can say we can sit at home now. We can just do it over WhatsApp. But we go and show our expressions of love and peace and stand together, and that's something that we've done for centuries as human beings.
I said, and that's a very natural thing. It's a very natural thing to do, and that's the reason why I say that a lot of the time we have to let nature take its course. Yeah. And when Muslim organizations come out and say, "Oh, these people are all hungry for to be on mainstream media. That's why they're coming out and condemning." I condemn that.
Yeah.
I condemn you condemning my condemnation, if you like. So the point here is coming back to the original point is that's fine. We've discussed at length about condemnation and how the Muslims should behave after this kind of just to basically plug our next debate night, which will take place on Friday. I want to talk about the real solution to this, in terms of dealing with the actual problem. Number one, how do we deal with the actual problem? And number two, what can we British Muslims, because it's not just this is not something that just we can it is just our responsibility to eliminate terrorism. No, this is a joint venture.
This is a joint venture,
and the
government must listen to
the government must listen to the general public, and they must listen to the Muslims, and they must listen to mainstream Muslim organizations
that are working hard to tackle terrorism.
Exactly, which I feel a lot of the time are being ignored. They are being ignored. I'm going to take this call.
One last call
for the show. They've just managed to get in. Assalamu alaikum, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Umar Yassin and I'm calling from Whitechapel.
Assalamu alaikum.
Omar, bro, how's it going? You okay? Alhamdulillah. What would you like to say?
Basically, Yeah, Ramadan Mubarak to yourself, Brother Muhbeen, and everyone out there listening. Very quickly, I would like to say on the topic of condemning the attacks. Personally, I won't, but if in front of me there were people talking about the attacks in the sense of where about what's happening, I will personally come out and through my knowledge of what I know about Islam and at my best about the Prophet ﷺ, I will tell them and I will apologize, because apologizing is something something from being brave. So as Muslims, we know our deen is the haqq, you know, we're brave. So in that sense, out of the sunnah too, I will apologize. But
Brother Umar, well, you're not going to condemn, but why are you going to apologize? I'm just trying to work that one out. In fact, when you're mentioning the Quran and the Sunnah, you're standing against the act. That's all condemnation is. When you say, look, that's an abhorrent act, that's it, you condemn. You don't have to say the word condemn.
Okay. Like I said, again, I won't condemn.
But you are condemning, brother, because you're saying I'm against that. That's against Islam. That's a condemnation.
Okay. Let me directly come on to your point, because I like that. It's because we know what the mainstream Islam is, and these twisted individuals out there, which the media has a very big hand, strong hand on it, which they're coming out and showing Islam. I will apologize because my religion isn't like that. So in that sense, I won't apologize. Like obviously.
But you've not committed the act. This is committed by one individual, Salman Abedi. He's the one that's liable. Those people that have groomed him are liable. What you're essentially saying is, look, I'm against this, and that's it. But thank you for that, Brother Umar. I think the time is coming very short. We're to the end of the show. I do appreciate you coming on and sharing your views. Jazakallah for that, Brother Umar, and Ramadan Kareem to you as well.
Muhbeen, before you cut me off.
Sorry.
Before you cut me off. It's all about having heart, and
I agree with that.
I know. Maybe I did contradict, or my point didn't come across to the point where you.
No, I think Umar, I think I understood your point. I think what you were saying. I think because I think I totally. If I understood correctly, what I think Umar is saying is that, you know what, I'm not going to come out and condemn like Muslims, and I don't feel like I need to. But if that person was sitting in front of me, the one who's just lost his daughter, I would just as a human being, I'd apologize and say, I'm really sorry to hear that. Like you say, I'm really sorry to hear that your mother's passed away. I'm really sorry to hear,
and just to say it, I'm not saying in the sense of if I see someone struggle or someone fall in front of me which needs help, don't take the point where I won't go out and help. Of course I will. You understand?
I totally get your point.
If that's the point, Brother Umar, you're making, I really respect you for it. That's an honourable stance to make.
That is the point. That's the way I understood it. Yes, Umar, am I correct?
To be honest, I wouldn't be able to say. It's very challenging for myself too, because I'm out here learning and I'm going through a battle within myself.
Inshallah.
In the sense of the sunnah and having an open heart and apologizing and being brave, there's nothing wrong to it. So whatever my point was, whatever way you saw it, whatever you want to take it in, let's just all out here, let's learn together and just preach the
Jazakallah khair, Brother Umar.
Can I just make one passing comment? I think, look, the thing is, what we have to realize is there are many people out there that do things in different ways.
Yeah.
But their intention is good and their intention will be rewarded. And for that intention, I think we should stand by that.
I think, Muhbeen, you know what it is? We have come to the end of the show, unfortunately, and it's been very interesting. Just like I was saying, just to plug the next event, we're gonna be looking at solutions to this problem. And you know what? We're gonna be, and this is where we have a lot of. This is a disputed issue amongst Muslims. Some people say we need to basically tackle the root cause, which is foreign policy. Foreign policy is the root cause. There is no other root cause. Ideology, yes, there's a contributing factor, and yes, you know what, it plays a small part, but the root cause is foreign policy, and we need to basically campaign, we need to become politically active, we need to ensure that we are putting as much pressure as we possibly can on the British government, on the Western world, to change their foreign policy, and in particularly when it comes to the stance of the Western world on issues like Palestine and other issues related to the Middle East. That is one stance. The other stance is that, you know what, the issue here is ideology. It's twisted ideology. We need to tackle this totally through a scholarly level, and we need to ensure that academically, theologically, we are ensuring that our children, the material that they're learning in the masajid, it is presented, and the teachings of Islam are presented in a certain way. These are the two arguments we will be discussing on our next show. We will have a guest from that hold the two views, inshallah, on this show. So if you want, and make sure that next week you're here. Next week is going to be Friday night, midnight again, inshallah. We're going to catch you then. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum from me and Muhbeen.
Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This is your local community station, Iman FM on 103.1 FM.
The message of Ahlul Bayt.
आल नबी मन माता बिहुब्बे आले मुहम्मदिन माता शहीदा जो कोई मोहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद की मोहब्बत में मरा उसने शहादत पा ली.
Don't forget to tune in every Tuesday 8 to 10 p.m. only on Iman FM.
For reliable, professional, and quality immigration services, consulators, sponsorship visas, British citizenship, indefinite